Welcome to Behind the Helm. We are so happy you're here with us. The show features myself and Petty Officer Dowden. We work together in Indiana as Navy recruiters. We created the show with the intention to help bring together the past, present, and future personnel of the military to help build a better understanding of what it's like to actually be a part of it. So you'll see anything from like interviews to video reactions or just personal stories of our own to help guide those who have interest in learning more about what the military has to offer and what it takes to make the ultimate sacrifice to serve your country. This podcast can be found on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and live on Facebook every Thursday at 4 p.m. And that's facebook.com/behindthehelm. So don't forget to like, share, and follow the show so you never miss out on an episode. And thank you to everyone here who supports us. Enjoy. All right, episode 37.
We'll get there eventually.
Can we get through without a technical issue?
Probably not.
Episode, oh my gosh. Episode, should I do it like that the whole time?
Episode. The mute is loose.
The mute is loose. Yeah, so episode 37. Petty Officer Downway. Oh my gosh, I'm Petty Officer Levesque. With me is Chief.
I can't with you right now. Chief Dowden.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bro, take a deep one. It's probably that monster. You said you never had that before. Yeah. It's messing
I've had
you.
a monster
It's tearing
before.
you up. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the
not the ultraviolet.
Is there creatine in this?
Not the ultraviolet. It's tearing them up.
Oh, there's kerosene in it. All right, I'm good.
Kerosene. Episode 37. Petty Officer Levesque, Chief Dowden.
Welcome.
Facebook Live.
If this is your first time here, welcome. It's about time. If this is your 37th time here, I think Fields is in the chat. Fields, go ahead and say hello. Lots of people in the chat here. I see Hedrick. I see
chatting it up.
Claire. I see Shields. I did see Fields. Lots of chatter going on in there. You guys be good to each other. Maybe we'll make one of you a moderator. I think Fields is in the running for that.
So we're here on Facebook Live. And of course, as always, you'll hear us later on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon as well, I believe.
Yeah, we just seen that.
Yeah, just seen it. It's on Amazon as well. And then, of course, on YouTube for the video and the bonus content. On Spotify and Apple Podcasts, you just get to hear our lovely voices. I will tell you, the last few weeks haven't been there. We're still working through and learning that side of the house and having a few technical difficulties. So if you listened last week, you know that our audio somehow got messed up again, and it's just not something that we can put confidently on Spotify. Yeah. So if you're going on Spotify and you're like, well, this is episode 34 and now we're on 37, what happened? That's what happened. Trust me, we'll get there. Okay. Yeah. So stick with us.
Hedrick's on the bus to Groton right now. Congratulations, Hedrick. Good job. Good job. Finally.
On the bus to Groton, Connecticut for his sub school. So that's awesome, man. Give you something to do because I'm sure that bus ride's fun.
Now, he's on his way to Groton. There's a beginning to everything, right? Well,
yeah.
How did he get to this point?
Well, he's been on the show.
He's been on the show.
He came in and talked to a recruiter.
Yes.
We talked about that. We had an episode about that, going into a recruiting office. And Hedrick's journey especially is inspirational just because he was somebody who actually had to lose a ton of, not a ton.
Right.
He had to lose a lot of weight. He was a great future sailor. But after he met with us, then what was the next step?
I mean, when he was there, he had just basically gotten done with Meps.
Had to go to Meps.
So
Meps.
There's a pretty good clip in there too about the hotel debacle.
Yeah, he talked about that. So today we're going to talk about some Meps. We're going to talk what is Meps? What's that next step? What happens at Meps? What is that? What step is that? So we're going to talk about what to expect at Meps and what it is, and it's a question we get asked a lot. What happens there? Am I just going to Meps and then leaving for boot camp? What does that all mean? So that is before we get started with Meps, we need to pay a little homage to the Eagle as per usual. And if you are an NFL fan, you remember us talking at the beginning of the season. We talked about our two favorite teams, and which is not looking good for either of them. I mean, at all.
No.
And we also talked about playing fantasy football. Now, you were in a fantasy football league that ended on week 17 as it should. And I believe I'm in the presence of a champion.
That's right. Yes, I am not only am I the commissioner of this league,
That is why he's the champion.
Now a champion. And I can get emotional about it because I've been doing fantasy football now for like 11 years. All right. It's been a long time. I've been to many championships. I've had a lot of heartbreak, a lot of bad seasons. At one point, I finished 12th. That was 2 years ago.
Woo.
It was a rough season.
Woo.
So, finally, I am a champion. I brought home that money. One of the guys in our league is going to send the championship trophy back to me that I bought for him. So, it's rightfully mine. It actually should just be mine in general. But, it feels really good. And for you, I mean, you're in a
all volunteer league. It's all recruiters.
yes, and
it's a small league.
Your league is different. You have a 4-week playoff, and it's double week, total points.
Because it's week 18 in the NFL, if you're an NFL fan, which means it's the final week. So what I brought for the Eagle today is a little Navy football. All right, keeping it real with NFL. Yeah, so let me sit that down. Week 18, and I will tell you a little cool story this last week, week 17, right? I was actually at the Indianapolis Colts game. Took a bunch of future sailors down. They got to go out on the field and do their enlistment ceremony at in the end zone, and they recorded it and played it before the show. And then we all, including the future sailors, so these are people like who've made it through Meps and are waiting to go to boot camp and continue to train with me. They got to do the giant American flag on the field, as I did as well. But what's really cool about it is we held it and we walked out. We walked out with the flag, and the Colts came through the tunnel stuff. And I'm not a Colts fan, but I will tell you, it's probably one of the coolest things I ever got to do in my career. There they all are, all the Navy guys there on the end. There's Dietz. Aw. And then Resh, and I could name them all, but I won't. So from multiple stations, and we had people there from everywhere. And this is actually, speaking of Meps, this is the commanding officer of Meps right now, who is a naval officer.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep. So, because it changes. And it was really cool. They got to do that before the game, and then they got tickets for the game. So we were there for that game. And of course, I was monitoring my fantasy football team during that, of which, if anybody's an NFL fan, I have Jamar Chase from Cincinnati, and his matchup was not great. So I decided to bench him, and he had, I think, the highest scoring wide receiver. He was definitely wide receiver 1, scored like 55 points.
Probably the most this season.
I think out of anybody.
56.
Like 55
he
whatever.
had more receiving yards than Patrick Mahomes had passing yards.
Yeah, on my bench. So luckily it wasn't just 1 week, because I would have lost by like 3 points. But anyway, there's the homage. Again, make sure you smash that like button. And if you're still playing in a fantasy league, or you want to talk fantasy football, you can drop that in there too. We talk about our normal stuff as well. But again, whatever platform you're on, make sure you subscribe, follow, find it, like it, share it, follow it. So let's talk about Meps.
What does Meps stand for?
What does Meps stand for?
The Military Entrancing Processing Station.
Military
Entrance
Processing
Station.
It's an acronym. We love acronyms in the military, and we've talked about it before. So
yeah.
Meps is that next step in your journey. So we've discussed, hey, find a recruiter. You go and you talk to a recruiter. You find out the basic, are you qualified? We've talked about this before. Are you mentally, morally, and physically fit? And what does that mean? Does it appear that you can pass an Asvab test, or do you have one maybe from school? Are you physically close to within height and weight standards and you don't have any major medical issues, morally, do you have, are you a felon? Like, do you have any, we look at the basics. So once you're basically qualified and it's what you want to do and you decide it is what you want to do, your next step is to go to Meps. Meps is not the Navy. As we've had other recruiters on the show with us, Meps is MEPSCOM. It is a whole separate thing. So each branch has their own liaisons in Meps. Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, everybody who's joining any of those branches goes to Meps. And what Meps does is they go through and we said, hey, you're basic qualified from what we know. Now you're going to go through a process to see, are you fully qualified or do you have things that are holding you up or are you disqualified from maybe certain jobs? For instance, and this is a good example I like to use, hey, if I'm colorblind, can I not join the Navy? You absolutely can. You're going to be disqualified from certain jobs, right? Mm-hmm. You're not going to be an EOD bomb tech and be colorblind. Do I cut the gray wire or the dark gray wire? I don't know, not a good fit. So if you've ever been in any sports, did you play any sports in high school?
I tried to.
Okay. You were there.
I know what I hate that I'm not a good example for you, but
I'm just saying, did you ever have to take a sports physical?
I have taken a sports physical, yes.
So basically you need to think like, all right, so physically you're going to be, they're going to check that and you're going to more or less get a sports physical, a little bit more in depth, right? And it is actually a doctor, right? There are doctors there. It's not me or you. Mm-hmm. There are doctors there that do the physical portion, but there's a lot that goes into it. It's a very long day. It starts very early. You go down, you stay in a hotel the night before, and then you bus over to Meps. When you go through Meps, what can you expect? What are you doing? When I go down to Meps, does that mean I'm leaving right then? No. You are getting qualified and getting that enlistment so that you can then be in our delayed entry program and be one of our future sailors prior to going to boot camp. So they're going to go through everything and make sure that your background's good. And then you're going to do things like a basic eye test, right? Just like you do for your driver's license. You're going to read lines with letters and numbers. You're going to do a color blindness test, a depth perception test. You're going to do a hearing test. You are going to have a drug test or your analysis, right? You're going to, I think the weird part that you don't normally get in a normal sports physical is you're also going to get like a mobility test. So a doctor's going to come in and they're going to have you do certain things like, can you touch your fingers? Can you roll your wrists? Can you get down, like squat down to a catcher stance and stand back up? The fun one for everybody is the duck walk, where you get down like in a catcher stance and kind of waddle forward without falling over and make sure you have equilibrium and you have balance, things of that nature. And then they check your height and weight, make sure you're good. And then a doctor, just like in a sports physical, if you ever had one, they're going to check you for a hernia, right? Which is a little bit more personal. We don't got to go into details of it, but you are with a doctor again. So in an exam room, and you go through all that, and that's how you find out if you're qualified. It's also where you take the Asvab, if you've never taken one.
So it sounds like it's not easy to get through it. It's not as easy as some people describe, like joining the military. Like, let's just say, in general, like, you're looking for a job or you're looking for like a specific thing that you're trying to do, and the requirements for that probably don't require you to do what you need to do at Meps.
Yeah, I think like most normal jobs, civilian house side jobs, most of the time, the closest thing you might have is maybe you have to take a drug test. You have to take your analysis. But that's it. I mean, at Meps, they even check, they check your teeth.
Do you have to have a certain amount of healthy teeth? Healthy
teeth in order to join. It's just different. There are a lot of misconceptions. We talk about misconceptions with the Navy, and there are with joining the military in a whole, that like you just walk into when we were talking about the recruiter's office. I'm going to walk in, they're going to trick me into signing something, and then all of a sudden I'm at boot camp. It just doesn't work that way. We talked about that with Hetrick, actually. The fact that it is a multiple day long process in order to join. the benefits and stuff that are offered now in the military are so high that they've become very, I want to say almost picky choosy of who's eligible and who's not, you know, for certain jobs. So it's not an easy thing to do. But with Meps, I think the big thing is, you know, if you are a healthy individual, as long as you have the information, it is. The problem, I think, too, and before I continue on, make sure to smash that like button. And if you have any good or bad things to say about Meps, we'd love to hear them being professional, and we'll address those. Or if you have any questions about Meps, by all means, please reach out. And no matter where you are, we'll get you with the right person. I think the big thing is to, thanks for, I love it.
Cooper literally smashed the like button on.
Yes, on cue. I think the big thing with it is understanding it.
Yeah.
Right? Understanding what you're doing and what you're going through, and understanding that it's just that next stepping stone into your career to make sure that you're physically and mentally and morally qualified to be in the military. You know, they're going to run a background check on you. They're going to check you physically. The mentally part is the Asvab. If you only took a little practice test with your recruiter, you're going to take the full Asvab down at Meps. And once you get past that part, then that's where you go to your respective liaison for whatever branch, and negotiate that contract of job depending on which branch.
And yeah, all the branches are different the way they process too. So let's just give you a scenario, right?
Sure.
You go to Meps, right? You thought you were good, and then turns out they hear a heart murmur. What are the steps from there? Are you permanently disqualified, or...
So I like to go back to, you remember when we talked to Don Nichols, and it's a great episode, and I would encourage anybody to go back and listen to it. Don had made a comment that there's waivers for everything. And that goes with this too. So, the answer for any question you don't ask 100% of the time is no. So
that sounds a lot like Wayne Gretzky's quote.
Well, and I mean, it's very true. It's just that like you may get disqualified. So Meps, each branch, like you're saying, has different levels, and Meps has this set DOD standard. Different branches sometimes can waive certain things. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you're completely disqualified from the military or your branch of service, but you may need to provide some medical documents. You may need to go see a doctor to make sure that, hey, we found, and it might honestly be something you didn't even know you had. I know we've worked with people that didn't do well on the hearing test. They didn't know that they had hearing loss. Sometimes some branches can't waive that. And again, like it always blows my mind when people don't think that the other recruiters talk to each other. And that's why we have them on our show too, because we all do communicate with each other. And I think the ones here that we work with genuinely care. We all have a job to do, but at the end of the day, I can't tell you how many times we've worked with the Marine recruiter and the Army recruiters at both Anderson and Muncie, where if they have somebody that really wants to join the military, and unfortunately, like maybe they can't join the Army, they'll come to us and say, hey, is this something you guys can work with? And we check too, because we want to help in whatever way we can, because each branch is a little different.
Yeah. So basically you can get disqualified, at Meps that day.
Yeah.
And they may be like, look, we need you to do this before we deem that because you're disqualified now. Like the example I had was what happened with me.
Okay.
They said, hey, you have a heart murmur. And I was like, I didn't know I had a heart murmur. But they didn't know if it was something that was,
like benign,
or if it was something that was actually a health concern. So they set up a consultation for me to go actually get seen by a doctor and find out. So all paid for, by the way.
Yeah, they take care of that.
They
so
take
you don't
care of
have
that stuff.
to, yeah.
So you get it done, and then let's say, it is benign, but the branch that you're trying to join doesn't have a waiver for that. You get what I'm saying? That doesn't mean that the other branches don't have a waiver. The sound was out, if that's what you're looking at. It's good now.
When was it out?
It was out towards the beginning.
Yikes.
Not when you were talking about Meps.
Ugh. Man, we're going to get this eventually.
Well, it's because I had hotkeyed M as mute.
Oops.
And I typed in on the computer, I typed Meps.
Thank you.
So whenever I looked
it.
up Meps, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
But either way, like, you could be seen by another branch. So if there's anyone out there who's like, damn, I tried to join the Army, but, the military said that my hearing was bad. No.
Meps did.
Meps said it was bad, and the Army couldn't give you a waiver.
Because we all do adhere to that DOD instruction, but there are sometimes, it just depends. And I didn't know that you went back.
There's like thresholds.
I didn't know that you had went back multiple times, because I also went back multiple times. So let's talk about another way you can get disqualified.
Yeah.
We talk about the height and weight standard, and it's changed actually since when I joined. You have your maximum weight, and if you're over that maximum weight, then it goes to a tape system where they get your body fat percentage. And actually now we have a single site tape. I went and failed that. I actually used to be very big, and I failed at Meps, and they disqualified me that day. Right. Yeah. So they gave me a timeline to come back, and I had to lose X amount of weight to come back to join. I had to go back to Meps.
Is this you right here in the picture?
No. And
no, but yes.
No, but yeah, no. What's funny about that is you can tell, like, I can't
believe he's getting body fat taped.
No, this can't be real, because this is just a picture of, they're probably showing some recruiters.
Like a demonstration?
That's
there's
an Army.
No way he failed a single site thing.
That's an old Army PT shirt. So that's probably a recruiter. And they were probably like showing the recruiters at Meps, hey, this is how we do this.
Yep.
Why that picture's there, I don't know.
But so you can get disqualified for weight, and then they'll tell you, here's a safe amount of weight you can lose, and come back on this date that's calculated from how much you needed to lose versus your body fat.
Correct.
So another thing is if you're, and this is this is just a quick little insight. If your recruiter is sending you down to Meps and you're over the weight and you know it, and body fat wise you're over, you should probably be like, hey,
I don't know, they shouldn't be sending you down.
They shouldn't be sending you down. So like if you know, like, hey, I'm at 31% and you need to be at 26, like, let's go ahead and say something about that. You know what I mean? But more times than not, I would say 99% of the time, a recruiter is going to make sure that you are going to make it through Meps. Like, they don't want to send people down who will be told, hey, you got to come back another day. Because that's not good for you, and it's not good for the recruiter at all.
And it's not good for the military in a whole. So believe it or not, like, there's money allocated for you for this. Like, they're putting you in a hotel and they're feeding you dinner, breakfast, lunch at Meps, which is just
5-star hotels.
But in general, they're nice hotels, a 5-star rating. You'd have to go back and listen to Hetrick's episode. It's hilarious. But the big thing about it is knowing that there's money allocated. So they don't want, when they send somebody down there, they're wanting you to take that next step, and they want you to be able to join. So I think the best advice that I give to somebody too is imagine that, the fact of the matter is that you are going to a job interview, right? Like, when you stepped in the recruiting office, that's an interview. You're looking at a job interview. When you're at Meps, it's like that next step. Like, whether you know much about hiring stuff or not, like, large companies have recruiters.
Yep.
Large companies have recruiters that go out to find people to work for this company. This recruiter for this Fortune 500 company says this person meets my qualifications, and now you're going to go to regional to see if they'll give you a job. Think of it like that. You're going to that next interview process. So I always tell people that, like, to make sure that, hey, you're looking at a job interview here. Make sure that you're dressing professional and, being professional, being yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir, be professional about it.
What?
So just go ahead and pull that up and talk to me about what are these kids doing right here?
These ones.
Yep. Talk about that for a minute.
Yeah. So right here, you could see these are people who are actually, once you get through the whole day, you've qualified and you made it through. You're gonna swear in, right? You're gonna take the oath of enlistment. You're gonna swear to defend the Constitution of the United States, defend all enemies, foreign and domestic, yada yada yada. But you'll do this at the end of the day. You'll also do this again when you're gonna ship. So it's tough to say whether these people are. My guess is, just from the way this guy's dressed, it depends. A lot of times you'll see the Marine applicants or the ones who are shipping dress up very formally. It's just kind of like their thing. I don't know. Once
you're completely qualified and you've sat down with your liaison and they show you the jobs that you qualified for, they're going to tell you, once you choose everything, then you're going to go through a process of, they're going to build that contract for you that shows the job, that shows, your ship out date and all this. And then you are going to go into a really, every single Meps has a really nice, like, formal room like that where you do the enlistment oath and an officer comes in and enlists you. And then after that, your day's over and then you're going to go back. And that's when you get with your Navy mentor or onboarder, which for this area would be me. And you start learning what you need to know for boot camp to get ready to go. You're not going straight to boot camp. You're going to come back home and learn. I was in the delayed entry program for 8 months. And like there was somebody who just enlisted Monday and they're going to be in the delayed entry program less than a month. Like it all just depends on what you have going on. Like right now, high school seniors, if they go down and enlist, obviously they're not shipping until after they graduate. Yeah. You have to graduate in order to go.
And it's a bit of a negotiation too, in a way. Like you could state certain things about like, hey, I have this and I have this, this is kind of what I want to do. And they're not just going to be like, well, that's too bad. Unless, of course, that isn't available.
Unless it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
A little
but
bit,
if you're like, hey, I want to work in engineering and you qualify for engineering and there's an engineering job available.
Yep.
They're not going to be like, well, you're going to be this.
It's very important to understand how that works, like with the, especially the Navy. Like that's the Asvab test itself. Mm-hmm. When people look at their score, they think that has all those scores added up and things of that nature, but it's really not. It's the math and English that go into that. So like the mechanics and the shop part of it, for anybody who's ever taken it or looks at a practice test, that's the aptitude portion, which is telling us how your brain works and where your knowledge lies. And with the Navy, like we take our classifiers they don't go to the same school that like recruiters do. They go to a specific school to understand that side of the house. And they really look at what jobs, when we say qualify for, we're talking about what mental, the way that you are, like, yes, what do you physically qualify for, but what does your knowledge show that you would be good at? Right. So, we could score the same thing, but maybe you have high numbers in the auto shop portion and I just didn't get a single question right on the auto shop. We could have the same score. Mm-hmm. They're going to be looking at more mechanical type jobs for you. They're not going to offer that to me. Like if I'm the type of guy that doesn't even know what a muffler is and I just fail the auto shop and mechanical sections of the Asvab, they're not going to be like, you should be an aviation mechanic.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to help the Navy. It's not going to help me. It's going to be miserable. Like they really do want to put you in a career path that you're going to be good at and would also be challenging to you. Yep. So we really strive to do that.
And to bring this kind of full circle, like you go to Meps, right? And you do your swearing.
Yep.
And you're not getting paid from the Navy because you're not in the Navy yet. You have to ship out. You'll be a part of the Navy then. So while you're in DEP, some of the things that you're able to do, and if we're going back to this picture here, right, of these people who have all made the choice to, make sacrifices in their life to better themselves, to protect the country. Some are high school kids, some people are a lot older, but everybody had the common goal to better themselves.
I'll tell you, there's a couple in the Navy section that I don't know, obviously all the Marine and Army ones and all that, but there are a couple in the Navy section that are actually even college graduates. So
there's people in this picture reaping the benefits already. This isn't something you get to do, working at Taco Bell or, for a lot of people, college graduates don't get to do this. This is something that you're being recognized as being extremely important, and they wanted representation of that. Like, here it is. These people are going forth to protect the country, and we want to do something special for them. Not even that they're doing it right now, that they're going to do it.
Yeah, for sure.
When you do stuff like this, it means a lot. And when you go to Meps and you do your swearing, like you always say, listen to it. Listen to what you're going to do. Be proud of what you're going to do. And those people who went there and got to experience that, I'm sure they're going, wow, I'm very proud of the decision that I made. Clearly, this is bigger than what maybe even they thought. Maybe they knew it was big, but you're standing on an NFL field swearing in. So they videoed the swear in, and the reason they did it so early was because of they have to go out on the field and do things and this and that. And they played it prior to the game, like in the stadium. And, people were, applauding and going pretty nuts. And then when we carried out the flag, obviously, and doing the national anthem and getting to wave the flag and because it's that big flag. Dude, it's week 17. Like, it was packed. There's like 60,000 people there. They lost.
They lost. But it was a close game. And, but the fact that you got to do that, and that's what I explained to my future sailors too, they got to go do it. I said, look, I'm telling you, 10 years in the Navy, I've got to do a lot of really cool things. Don't get me wrong. But that was probably one of the coolest things I got to do. So, and really I just did it for them. And then we got to do the flag as well. So it was great. It was amazing. So, and they would, like you said, they wouldn't have got to do that if they wouldn't have decided to join. So, and you can see all branches were represented there, but most definitely, if you have aspirations of doing things like that, make sure you reach out to us, smash that like button, comment down below on whatever platform we're in. There's always a phone number in the description. Make sure you call, and we'll get you with the appropriate person in your area, and help you get started on that journey. But we've talked about the recruiting process, and we wanted to talk about Meps a little bit because we do get that a lot. What is Meps and what's happening? And it is that next step to make sure that you are qualified before we say, okay, here you go.
Yep.
And that's what happens there. There's a lot to it, a lot of questions, paperwork that's filled out, your fingerprints are taken. But that is Meps in a nutshell. And if you have any other questions about it, please, by all means, feel free to message us or comment below. And we'd love to hear your story of Meps while still being professional. Because I know there are people that the problem with it is when you look Meps up online.
It's not good.
There is never, ever, ever, ever anybody who writes anything good about it. And it's because it's the people who didn't get in and just blame everybody else.
If we're being frank, it's not like the best experience.
No, it's not. You're changing your life. It's different. You're nervous. You're anxious. You don't really know what's going on. Maybe it wasn't
rapid fire.
Great.
It's very boom, 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 boom. So
it's tough.
We're not going to sit here and say Meps will be a magical time.
Somebody's going to hold your hand. You're going to get a hug at the end of the day, and there's a unicorn that walks by.
No, these guys are doing this every single day.
Yep.
And it has to be efficient.
and they see some very ridiculous people come through, it is not it's not the pinnacle of your career by any means. But just know we want to talk about it because when you look it up online and you look up like videos like what to expect at Meps, most of the time the person doing the video is somebody, or the whatever is somebody who didn't get in, and they are just, boy, they are salty. So trust me, I went through 3 times. Okay. Been there, done that. So anyway, again, thank you for watching us on live. Make sure to smash that like button, subscribe, follow this page, find it, like it, share it, follow it. And whatever platform you're on, make sure to subscribe and hit the like button and comment below.
All right, guys, bonus content starts in 3, 2.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. You were just behind the helm. To see this podcast live, check us out on Facebook every Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you were listening to this podcast on Apple or Spotify, head on over to our YouTube page to see this show and extra content. If you're on YouTube already, click the video below to see the after show and bonus content that's available right now. No matter what platform you're on, find the link in the description to find the links to all our other platforms. And as always, find it, like it, share it, and follow it. Thanks, guys.